Welcome, everybody, to another episode of On the Range podcast with Warhog Tactical and Kelley Defense. Today is June 11th, 2021. As always, I'm joined by my close friend and partner and co-host, Rick Hogg. How's it going, buddy?
Man, it's going great. Mark, just want to thank the viewers, listeners out there for giving us your most precious commodity, your time, for tuning in. So appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, man, can't do it without them. Today, this episode is brought to you by Killcliff. Visit killcliff.com, use promo code OTR15, save yourself a boatload of cash, get yourself some good, clean energy with ingredients that do not suck. Also, don't forget to hit combatflipflops.com, use promo code OTR25. Support what they're doing because they're doing a lot of great stuff for veterans and putting kids through school in some places where they wouldn't have the opportunity to do so. So go ahead and visit those guys. Today, we have a great show, Rick. I think we got a great guest, and I hope he has a good time, but we brought on our guest. Why don't you go ahead and introduce him?
Yeah, buddy. So we've got Dr. John Jaquish. He is an author. He's an inventor. He's a scientist, and super excited to have him on. So, John, welcome to the show, buddy.
Yes, man.
Thanks for
being here, buddy.
Yeah, glad I could be here.
So, when your team reached out to us, we were excited because I've seen you before. Okay. I've seen some of your books. The one book that most people talk about is weightlifting. Yeah, there you go. Weightlifting is a waste of time, which I love it. And, I remember when this all started to come out and the product was launched, and it's been out for about 3 or 4 years now, if I'm incorrect. Yeah. And then there's a couple of generations, updates and things like that you made. But I've seen you on a lot of podcasts, a lot of shows, and I thought you're just an interesting guy. So we appreciate you coming on here. Can you kind of give our audience a little background on how you ended up here?
Sure. Well, I'm the most hated man in fitness. I'm also not part of the fitness industry at all. So, who would want to be part of that industry, right?
Yeah.
Bunch of losers. It's kind of a non-industry. Like the industry of fitness is really the industry of selling gym memberships and personal training time. So, isn't really an industry. Like nobody's getting results. Like how many people do you know that have been going to a gym for years and still look exactly the same?
Yeah.
Probably almost everyone you know who goes to a gym. Yeah. They don't change.
Right. If they're doing the same thing, they look the exact same. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even if they mix it up, I know guys who are, in fact, muscle confusion theory has been disproven. The American College of Sports Medicine now has a position stand, like don't change your workout, stick to the same workout with multi-joint movements. But, the real problem in the industry is science doesn't make its way to the consumer. And so there's been a lot of great scientific discoveries over the last 75 years when it comes to health and wellness. But if you get a gym membership, you'll never hear about it.
Yeah.
Never. Yeah. Like cardio is probably one of the worst things you can do if you want to lose body fat. Yet there we get, 100 women that are all just Susie cream cheese, just eating the crap food they eat and getting on the treadmill and not losing a thing.
Yeah.
And they do it year after year, and it's just pathetic. And so it always bothered me. But my real backstory is I created a medical device about 13 years ago that reverses osteoporosis. So it reverses osteoporosis faster than any drug that's ever been clinically trialed, and there's no side effects. It's fantastic for those who can use it. It's not right for everybody, like everything else. But that's called OsteoStrong, and there's 150 clinics in 8 different countries.
And I'm familiar with OsteoStrong, and I'd like for you to talk about that a little bit because there's actually one in the Cincinnati area, and there's also one in Louisville. And it's a mechanical device. It's a workout machine or a series of workout machines, correct?
Yeah. They're I'd call it more like therapy.
Okay.
But, I try and stay away from. I call it the E word. It's not. I mean, look, if people are being charged $200 a month, you better not call it exercise. It better be something a little bit more than that. And it is. It triggers bone growth. So, is it exercise for the bone? You could call it that. I don't have a problem with somebody calling it that, just from a marketing perspective. I just don't think it's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
So OsteoStrong was going so well, and we were really in our first real clinical trial, and that was being done in London because the British government participated in that study. By the way, it is harder to get something done at a U.S. hospital, a single U.S. hospital, than it is with the entire British government when it comes to their medical.
Wow.
And their medical is still a nightmare.
Yeah.
But like, it is just like, who's got a bigger bureaucracy? Is that's really
Yeah. We've got to be at the front of the race on that one.
Oh, dude. Now, fortunately, I met the right people in the National Health Services of the British government. And I mean, as things go, it's basically a giant Department of Motor Vehicles for your healthcare. So, I mean, you can imagine how it runs, sort of like everything else government run, not well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they do it better than I would have expected, given the scenario. So anyway, I was running the trial there, and some of the test subjects. So like, I participated from a methods perspective only. Like when you conduct a study, or a study's being conducted, and you're the inventor, you write the instructions, the methods, so that the technicians and principal investigator don't apply the technology incorrectly. Because if they apply it incorrectly, it's going to show that it doesn't work. So you want to make sure that you describe how it's supposed to be used in a very specific way. So that's what I did. And then I went there to just be an observer. So, I was kind of sitting behind the mirrored glass and watching the test subjects, and then talking to some of the people who were in the study. Some of the people who were in the study were actually physicians at the hospital. And so what they said was, they're like, we're just so amazed. Postmenopausal females using 6, 7, 8 times their own body weight. They're like, these weights that we're using to load our bone mass are staggering. And one would think that this is unsafe. It turns out it's not unsafe at all, given the very specific position. So the positioning of the body when you're using these OsteoStrong machines is one where you would naturally absorb high impact forces. So like if you jump and land, you'll notice there's a 120-degree angle behind the knee. That is really important. There's also a 120-degree angle between your abdomen and your, and your femur. Like that hip angle is the same. So you're kind of like collapsing, you're telescoping in a way where you have a balance in the angles of the body, but they're all the same. That's how you land when you straight fall against the ground. So when we were doing the study and we were looking at these optimized biomechanics, I had never really compared what people lift. And so one of the doctors said to me, I'd really like to know, like, what do the average people lift? Or people like me, like she's postmenopausal female, 60-year-old woman, never worked out a day in her life. What can people actually lift that are like me? So fortunately, we have the NAIMS database. So NAIMS database is the National Institute of Health database on a lot of different things that are body composition and exercise related. There's about 20,000 test subjects in there, and they add about 2,000 interviewees every year to continue to capture these health metrics. So I compared this database with what we were doing. And so the average individual in this study was dealing with a little over, well, actually not a little over, almost 8 times their body weight. So looking at that number and then seeing that people who go and exercise with their lower, and this is, I'm just talking hip joint loading here because that was the only real comparable number. Also, that's the important one when it comes to osteoporosis. When you break your hip, you have a 50% chance of death within 1 year if you're over the age of 50.
Wow.
So yeah, like hip fractures kill as many people as breast cancer does.
Wow.
But it's the complications. It's you break your hip, you go to the hospital, you can't move, you're stuck there, you get pneumonia, you die. Remember, pneumonia kills 6.6 times as many people as coronavirus. Yeah, we were never worried about that before, though, and not worried about that now. So when we when I'm looking at this data and I'm showing it to the physician who asked, she was the administrator of the hospital, and I said to her, I'm looking at 1.3 and 1.53 as the 2 data points, sort of beginner weight and sort of exerciser experience with exercise weight. Now I know I say 1.53 is the experienced weightlifting, and somebody will be like, yeah, but Eddie Hall does. It's like, yeah, there's one Eddie Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one fucking guy that does that. There's not like a busload of people who can do that. That's the reason why you know his name. So, but for the rest of us, 1.53 is considered advanced. Now, this is also not leg press. This is like squatting. Because the leg press, most of the weight is going into the ground because you're pushing it at a 45-degree angle. So you're really only dealing with a half the weight you see loaded on there. You know those guys who put like the whole room full of plates on the leg sled, and they're like, yeah, I just, leg press like 3,000 pounds. Like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah.
But, okay.
What was your inspiration for the device? And was the device one device, or was it you knew that you were going to need multiple devices to accomplish what you were looking for?
For OsteoStrong or for X-Strong?
Yeah.
So
OsteoStrong.
OsteoStrong. Yeah. There was just, the loading was so high. Like when I load my spine with the OsteoStrong device, I go over 1,000 pounds. A device is going to hold 1,000 pounds. It's not going to be gym quality equipment. It's going to be way beyond that. Like, in fact, I started with gym equipment and tried loading it, and I bent it up and crumpled that stuff like it was made out of chocolate. So yeah, like gym equipment wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So we needed, in fact, the steel we use, the gauge of the steel we use for the OsteoStrong devices is tractor steel. Because we got to get thicker, because we're dealing with huge forces. And it's funny, the average person that goes to OsteoStrong, now there are some athletes go to OsteoStrong, but most people are postmenopausal women that are dealing with more force. We're just talking raw force here, than most of the strongest people you could ever find.
Really?
But they're only dealing with it in that impact ready range of motion. So the range that they're dealing with may only be an inch. So they're pushing it an inch, but it's a tremendous amount of force. And the inch of range of motion actually comes from the compression of their own bone. You can watch it happen. You can watch somebody's femur get, shorter and then bounce right back.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the way the skeleton is designed. Our bones are supposed to do that.
Yeah.
We just never experience it, or had never really even thought about it that way. And of course, I'm giving a lecture. I give a lecture to local physicians and people who are interested, and they're like, I don't know how that works. But I go to the International Osteoporosis Foundation. These are the world leaders on bone health, and they're jumping out of their seat, clapping. They're like, yeah, that's exactly how that works. Like, it's amazing you found a way to make it like they really, the idea that there's a conspiracy theory where pharma companies don't want you to exercise, they just want you to take pills. I can tell you that in my experience of dealing with the medical community, the opposite is true. They treated me like I was just exactly what they needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
On that, John, so I was always under the impression that, the bone density, what you have is kind of what you've got.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is by loading the bone and actually getting that compression and coming back, that's stimulating bone growth. Am I correct in that?
If you load the bone to the appropriate level, so the minimum dose response. So like, lifting, the whole joke is like somebody says, I'm doing 40-ounce curls tonight. That means they're holding a 40-ounce beer in their right?
Yeah.
So that's obviously not going to build muscle, because guys who drink 40-ounce beers they're probably living behind 7-Eleven. But if that's their lifestyle. But there's a minimum dose response. So there's a minimum amount of force that's required for a given muscle to force it to change. To stimulate it to change. So when I look at the dosage that's required, we know what it is for the hip joint. It's 4.2 multiples of body weight. So when somebody goes on a walk and says, I need a walk so I can load, bone so I don't have osteoporosis, you'll see little old ladies like saying that, or even just postmenopausal women, not even old. That's not going to do anything. It does nothing. You know, I might do some stuff for the circulation. They
Sure.
might burn calories doing that, but they're not building bone. 4.2 times your body weight is a lot.
And it's only going to be in that little short 1 inch movement.
Right. That's right. You need loading
Wow.
in a very specific position. So high impact will do it, like with gymnastics. So this is how gymnasts have superhuman bone strength. In fact, like retired gymnasts seem to be able to do like anything athletic. Have you ever noticed that?
Oh yeah.
Like anything a former gymnast gets into, they just dominate. And they have incredibly high bone density, incredibly high muscular density, incredibly low body weight. So anything where a power to weight ratio counts, they are just so dominant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like weightlifting, whatever. So I after making all these observations, I remember sitting with the principal investigator and a couple of doctors from the hospital, and I said, my conclusion is weightlifting sucks. Like, if we know we can handle, you know, X amount of force when we're close to our body, and 7X as we get further away. You're on the camera a little bit. Yeah. So if I'm doing a chest press and I'm, you know, contracting at 7X right here, well then I am missing out on the growth potential when I'm back here because I'm much weaker back here. So I should really be handling proportionately a lot different weight here and even in the middle than out here. So that was like the driver of that decision. It's like, okay, weightlifting sucks. So what's better? We need a weight that changes as we move. Okay. Now we've always had band training, but that never took off. Like people have been trying to launch band programs for a long time. And the problem is you wrap a band around your hand and then you go to push away from yourself, it twists your wrists. It outwardly twists your wrists. If you step on a band and try and do a deadlift, well, your ankles are trying to roll inward because the band, the more you stretch it, the more it wants to be a circle. So you can break your ankle doing that. You ask anybody in the NFL if the ankle joint likes lateral force. They're experts on that subject because that's what careers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So considering all this, I thought, okay, so band training will never do it. That will always fail. Now, band training is great for somebody who's in rehab or who's just decrepit, like they're so weak, like they can barely stand up. Okay, you know, maybe you could put some bands with that particular person until they can graduate to something more usable for the rest of us. So I thought, okay, what I really need to do is stabilize the wrists, as these are some of the smallest bones in the body and most delicate bones in the body. So if the wrist is kept neutral the whole time, we can load it. We can load it like to an incredible degree. Same thing with the ankles. So I came up with a second ground that you stand on and a bar. Let's like the Olympic bar design is genius because the weight can roll, but the bar stays absolutely stable in your hand. So I just developed that and patented that in 67 different countries for the use of exercise with the bar and the plate to stand on. That's how X3 was developed. And I like really the story is like in the book. Weightlifting is a waste of time is a lot about why I made the decisions I made so that I could prove that weightlifting sucks as a stimulus for muscle growth. And there's just a better way. The better way is variable resistance. So we're holding less weight where we're weaker and much more weight when we're stronger. So you end up training with a much higher weight than you would in a gym with this method. And then when you go to fatigue, you don't have any joint soreness, nothing.
Yeah.
No.
So, John, let me ask you, because you brought up the whole patent thing, and I've always been interested in that. So you got it in 67 different countries. That had to be a feat in itself, because I know just trying to deal with USPTO, that's a drama in itself. How was that kind of journey for you?
That, I mean, when I got those patents, when they were granted, there was 13 of them on different aspects of of X3, and that was right around my 600th patent.
Whoa.
Wow.
Like that whole set, it was I hit the 600 mark. So I had a lot of experience with patents.
I'd say so. And you got an attorney that must love you, man, because those things are not cheap to put through.
No, but oh yeah, when I first, so X3 was, but it's funny, like whenever you go, so it sounds like you've dealt with the patent office.
Oh, I have.
Whenever you go to invent something, it amazes me when you describe it to your friends and you're like, okay, I'm going to take a big financial risk here and put this product out. They all say the same thing. Well, not all your friends. Your smarter friends won't say this, but most people will be like, oh, don't do that, man. Like, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And they're trying to protect you, that's great. But yeah, they know that most people can't weather the storm of the ridicule for coming up with something new. Like anytime somebody says, we got to do something different, we got to do something new, it's like heresy.
Oh God.
Yeah. And
Yes.
Nutrition is completely unconventional also. And I get screamed at for that all day long also. And I'm like, okay, I can show you the evidence. I can show you why I'm doing this. And if you spend your time understanding it instead of bitching and complaining, you'll do it this way too. Or you'll at least challenge your current beliefs. But most people are just sheep.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the way our government is bending our people right now. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, yeah. I mean, all I see is victims. Everyone's a victim.
But I think you summed it up correct. It's the guys that are in your corner. Now I got it. You need those sounding boards of wisdom where you're sitting there going, hey, I'm going to reinvent the water bottle. Okay. I'm not quite sure what you can do to patent that. Maybe you've got, you found the new mousetrap. Cool. But, when they sit there and go, man, I wouldn't do that. Well, why? If you've done your due diligence, your research, hey, I've got something new, something inventive. Sure. Run the process. My experience has been when it comes to patent attorneys, win, lose or draw, they're getting their money. So it's not like a litigation where they know they want to win. You kind of go, well, we'll put it through the system and see what happens. And then, of course, if you've got to go back and rebuke USPTO, that's going to cost you more money because something else has to be rewritten in legalese that, your average person can't do and better explain. Or again, it's always trying to get that from the inventor to the attorney. No, this is what I'm trying to convey. Well, no, we need to say it like this. Well, that doesn't make sense to me, but you're the expert and here's more money for that. So it's like, yeah.
And then there's the litigation. I've enjoyed some of that too.
Yeah. Well, I finally got smart.
And I've shut down a couple companies in the U.S. who tried to knock it off. A couple of companies. I've successfully shut down operations in China, which
really
a lot of people will say you can't do.
Wow.
Now I'm going to
explain that one because
all your listeners are going to know how you can enforce a patent in China.
Okay.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
File your patent in China. Because what people do is they file a patent in the United States and then they don't realize that other countries don't give a shit. You've got to file in their country. And you've also got to retain lawyers in that country. So when Chinese lawyers go to a Chinese court with a Chinese patent wanting to enforce it, it doesn't matter that I'm an American. It's a Chinese patent that I paid for, the filing fees on. And they're like, this belongs to this guy with a funny last name.
Yeah.
What the hell is that guy? Whatever. It doesn't matter where I'm from. So like people file a U.S. patent and they just think that's okay. They think that's enough. No, like literally 67 different countries is what I'm filing.
You made a really good point, and we had a guest on a couple shows ago where he said that people will give advice based on their own beliefs and their capabilities, so they will shut things down early. And it seems to me that you're willing to take it as far as it needs to go because your belief in yourself and your belief in your product. Is that what that book that you collaborated on with the other, I can't remember, his name escapes me, but it's called Unbreakable? Is that like but isn't that your first book that you collaborated on?
It's the first book I collaborated on.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a collab or if it's something you wrote.
Well, I wrote half of it and then
Okay.
it was edited.
Yeah.
I don't really promote that book very much.
Okay. All right, we'll move on then.
Yeah, so my first book was called Osteogenic Loading, and don't read that book. That's a very boring book. Like really, like like a lot of people, they're just fans of what I'm doing and the information I put out, and then they're like, "Yeah, I read that first book you have, and I was really waiting to get to the interesting part, and yeah, not there."
Yeah, it sounds like half of our shows.
That's really an adaptation of my PhD dissertation.
Oh, okay.
And so people could get all the back, because who's gonna tell people to go to OsteoStrong? Doctors. So I wrote it for doctors. So it's not a page turner.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, it's interesting because
way cooler.
Yeah. The cover's a lot cooler too.
Yeah, exactly.
But a lot of our audience, we always talk about, when they're transitioning from uniform services and things like that, we talk about, Rick likes to talk about the patent stuff because he has experience with that and knows how difficult that can be. But a lot of it is the mindset, and you have a good mindset when it comes to the sticking with it and pushing through. And I've heard on some of the podcasts you've been, people would challenge you a little bit about some of this other experts that are saying, this is what they say. And you've had a real good attitude about that. And one of the things you said was, you don't want to be a loser, because loser focuses on winners and winners focus on other winners to see what they can pull from those guys.
Winners focus on winning.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, what do I need to do to win?
Yeah.
Whereas like, loser is always like, hey, that guy, like, fuck him because he's richer than me, or I get complaints all that. Like most hate on the internet, like 99.9% of it is just jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they see you're successful and they hate it, or they wish they thought of it. I think like there's a lot of people who complain about the product, they wish they thought of it. But like somebody will go, oh, look at this asshole, his Lamborghini showing off, and I say, no, I put my Lamborghini in ads. So when people are scrolling through the internet, they stop and make a comment, just like you did.
Yeah.
Versus somebody sitting there, and I think we're all kind of the same way, John. If somebody reaches out and go, hey, man, you've got 600 patents. Man, you've got some experience. Hey, how do I file in China? I'm sure you'd be willing to tell somebody.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And that's the part that people don't get is, if you reach out versus with the negativity and just go, hey, John, how'd you file in China? Could you, maybe pass me your attorney that you're using or whatever?
Sure.
Most people I've found are more than willing to help.
Oh, yeah.
But if you sit there and go, man, your stuff's garbage, what are you looking to get out of it? Nothing.
And it's clearly like they're just trying. Oh, and the new thing with trolling, and this is why Facebook makes it very easy to ban and block these people, is that they realize that most of what trolls do is just lie.
Mm-hmm.
They lie about the company that they're bitching about. Somebody I saw the other day, somebody said I think it's like the most failed products are Apple products, and I'm like, like product failure, and I was like, I had to do a double take, it was like quality, like Apple has the worst quality control. It was just some asshole that was just, I don't know, I guess jealous of Apple. Like Apple has the best quality control.
Yeah.
Like if Apple made a fighter plane, that shit would never crash.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or at least it would crash a hell of a lot less than everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just see these people, and I think Facebook is relentless in their ability to help an entrepreneur get rid of these clowns.
Mhm.
There's all kinds of methods that they help. And, like I spent $3 million last year with Facebook. I'll spend double that this year because we're growing double in size every year. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so I actually have somebody at Facebook I can just pick up a phone call. And like there are so many tools that they have that are available to the ad buyer to just get rid of these people. And in fact,
So,
a lot of them are getting yanked off Facebook. Like if
well,
they scroll a couple of different places, if they just make a shitty comment on on a couple of different ads, Facebook is like, what the fuck good are you? You're trying to keep people from buying stuff on our platform, which by the way is funded by ads. Fuck
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, John, because here's the thing. A buddy of mine, he's been booted off, specifically IG, twice because people have stolen his profile, turned around, pretended to be him, trying to solicit money out of people. But it seems like the flaw, and it's funny you brought it up. There's no validation to go, this is really me. So like if I try to go to Instagram or Facebook or whatever and validate my business, they don't accept my documents. They don't accept my stuff.
Yeah.
And I understand maybe,
a little blue check mark that makes
right.
sure that you're the official you.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just wonder, you've got the in with Facebook. Granted, you put millions of dollars to them. Yeah. I just wonder how much that plays. So is it, hey, if you're kind of low hanging fruit, starting up a new business, they don't turn an eye to you because you haven't put enough money towards it, or what's up? But we're trying to use that tool to help and grow our businesses. But in my one buddy's case, two separate occasions, it's funny because you bring it up for you. You can use it as a great tool for you, but it was used against him to basically negate his business. I don't know if you had any insight on that with just all your dealings with Facebook.
I would recommend hiring a consultant for verification, because there's consultancy coming. Now, I mean, you're dealing with an oligarchy here. Like that's what big, tech social media is. So know the animal you're dealing with. You might as well be, dealing with Russian mafia.
Sure.
Not criminals, but they're in control, and so you got to play their game. So there's different consultants that can help, but for me to get verification, I needed you need a minimum of 65 legitimate articles written about you, and it needs to be in 8 different languages.
Wow.
So like that many people need to give a shit about what you are and what you're saying. So like if somebody's marketing a product and it's just in the US, forget it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I unfortunately, there's more press about me in other countries than there is in the States, because osteoporosis is everywhere. In fact, it's a lot worse. In Asian countries, it's worse than the United States. In Russia, it's worse than the United States. Places that have low sunlight, Canada. I mean, pretty much any Nordic country, like Iceland. We're osteostrong's huge in Iceland, in Sweden, in Norway. We're working on Finland and Denmark. It's huge in Denmark.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just recently in Copenhagen. So yeah, like I kind of lucked out. I was like, okay, this is what I need. And I'm like, well, I almost got all this stuff. So that has quite a bit to do with it. Also, the people who get the easiest verification are comedians.
Really?
Yeah, because when they're funny, it gets shared.
Yeah.
So what I would recommend, like if I were to do this all over again, I would be a lot funnier. I mean, I'm funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially when I make fun of all these, sideways head losers.
Yeah.
But it's when you have something, there's a specific kind of tape, which is it's like a fiberglass tape. And somebody built a roll cage out of pipes, and then all the connecting joints were just this tape. And then they'd drive a car off a cliff, and then see if they could survive it. And it was, and of course the guy, he had like the main actor, he had like a mullet. It was like it looked like when they say, what do white trash people say right before they die? Hey, watch this.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was kind of that vibe. It was very funny. And this company just blew up right after they did this ad, and they got verified on every platform.
Yeah.
So,
I'm dialing into that. I don't know where that's at, but I'm dialing in. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, this tape, I really don't need to build a roll cage around my Lamborghini. I'm not planning on driving it off any cliffs, but if I did, I know which tape I would use.
There you go.
Yeah.
So speaking, I gotta ask you on this one, man. Speaking of the Lambo, man, have you really opened that thing up? Has there been a chance?
Oh, I drive another Lamborghini on a racetrack, and I've taken that to 220.
Oh my God.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rick and I do it, but we usually rent them. We rent them and then we do it. Yeah, we're not going to do that to our own cars. We're just going
to Lamborghini that I drive. And they're like, if you want to do a track day, let us know. And our race team is in Vegas. They have a GT3 class race team in headquartered in the United States, and they have another one in Europe. And these guys, they were just cool about it. They're like, don't beat up on your car.
No.
Beat up on ours.
Absolutely.
Also, because if you do a track day, Lamborghini provides this amazing vehicle that can do all kinds of crazy shit and absolutely destroy any limits that you thought you had in any other car. This car is so spectacular, but they don't want you beating up on it and then saying, well, you built it to do this, but then it's falling apart, so now you got to fix it for me. So I don't really want that. Yeah. So, if you drive, I could probably drive 150 every day, and provided law enforcement was okay with this, everywhere I go, and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
The car would not have any issues. But you get over 200 and there's a few rattles and pushing the car to its absolute limit.
Yeah.
And and that's racing. I never really understood until I started racing. You're basically destroying the car. And I like cars. I think they should be cared for. It's a machine you like, so don't trash it, celebrate it.
Yeah.
But racing is just a different way to look at appreciating an automobile. You appreciate it by pushing it absolutely as hard as you can push it to get absolutely as much performance out of it as you can.
So where are you located at on a daily basis? Where's your home? You don't have to give me the address, but
Yeah. I split my time up. I got a couple places I live, sort of Lake Tahoe, Northern California area. I get death threats every day, so I never try and be too specific.
No. We don't want that. Not Chicago.
No, done with Chicago. Chicago sucks.
That's the weather, man.
Yeah, great bars and restaurants.
Oh yeah.
There's some nice people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That weather's just brutal up there. I mean, I love Buffalo, but I never lived there.
I did not like living in Chicago.
Yeah.
It was just the summers even suck. They're humid. As soon as summer happened, it was because I moved. I remember it was Thanksgiving Day when I moved to Chicago, and it was just a lot of snow and a lot of cold, a lot of wind. And I thought, this place sucks, but I'm sure the summer will be great. As soon as summer rolled along, I mean, we probably had 1 week of actually nice 80 degrees, kind of weather. And then it was brutal, punishing humidity. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love visiting there, but 2 or 3, 4 days, I'm out of there. Yeah. I don't think I've ever really enjoyed the weather in Chicago in any time of the year I've been there.
No.
But yeah.
No, not much to enjoy.
So how long How long has it been since the first rollout of the of your device, your exercise band device? Is it
The
the X3?
So,
Yeah.
yeah. That I kind of derailed myself on that story. So yeah, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I had a prototype.
Yeah.
And I started using it. I put on 30 pounds of muscle after turning 40.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm 44 now. And so, like, that doesn't happen to anybody. People are like, well, you must have taken performance enhancing drugs. Performance enhancing drugs don't do a lot for a guy over 40.
Mm.
But correct exercise apparently does.
Yeah.
So 30 pounds of muscle in the first year. And as soon as that happened, like my fraternity brothers would be like, what happened to you? Did you get like hit by lightning or you know, like you've been working in the gamma ray lab with Dr. Banner or what? Like, this is crazy what's happening. Because there's all of a sudden veins coming out all over me and I'm leaner and I have a six pack and like I guess I thought I was fit. I played rugby, but I was really just like a fat 190 pounds. Like I had a stomach. I didn't have any visible abdominals at all. And you know, all of a sudden 1 year later I had visible abdominals. They weren't sharp, but I was way bigger. And yeah, people just immediately were like, what the hell? Like you know, and like, are you getting younger? Like, is my face look younger? Well, my face got leaner. If you get leaner, you look younger. And so everybody was really excited about it. And I thought, like, I really had to do some soul searching here because I developed a prototype and I was so excited and I had friends like that could help me market this. So I jumped on a plane. I went and saw my buddy Dave Asprey. Everybody doesn't know who Dave Asprey is. He's the guy who invented the term biohacking. He's like written maybe 6 or 7 best-selling books. Brilliant guy. Just like really has the code cracked on how to get around some of the bigger problems of aging and chronic disease. He's really one of the first people to push ketogenic nutrition, though I kind of hate that term because ketogenesis has nothing to do with nutrition. It is the absence of nutrition that triggers that. So like you eat nothing and you go into the strongest form of ketosis. But he was always a proponent of a better understanding of that. Anyway, so I went to him and I made another prototype. And so, and it was really funny. I brought it in this, you guys have probably seen these like, you know, Pelican cases. It looks like I'm carrying like an anti-aircraft gun. I got stopped I didn't get stopped at airport security. I got stopped like 6 times after airport security. Like, can I look at that? Like, what's in that? You know, because they were like, what? Looks like an anti-aircraft gun in there. No, it's the X3. And I'm like, I invented this. And, you know, like the humble inventor story, that's okay with airport security. They're like, cool, okay. You know, and I'll pull out a band and like do some bicep curls and show them how it works. And they're like, okay, this is awesome. Where do I order more? You can't yet. Anyway, so I do have some more great stories about airport security, especially in the Middle East. But I just kept, I go to and see Dave and he's excited about it. He's like, I understand this perfectly. Like, this is so much better than regular weightlifting. Now, Dave's brand is almost like Bulletproof is his brand. And it's almost like a way around nutrition or a way around exercise to get to fitness and health. That's kind of what biohacking is. And whereas this is very obviously a difficult exercise, like an X3 workout is the hardest workout of your life. Like, in fact, Dr. Baker, he's a strength record holder in a couple of different things, indoor rowing, deadlifting. He's like, the hardest workout I've ever had is my X3 workout because it allows you to train a lot further and go to a much deeper level of exhaustion. And so Dave got that. So he says, okay, it's kind of counter what I normally do, but it's efficient because in 10 minutes you're wiped out, and that's the only workout you need for your whole day. And so he promoted it, but then I asked him, hey, do you want to like license this? Because I'm kind of busy with OsteoStrong. Like, I already had a job. Like, I invented another thing that's taken over the world. I don't know if I have time for 2 things. And then, so he said it really wasn't his spectrum. Like he said, I'll help you promote it, but yeah, I don't know if this is a bulletproof product. And so I said, okay. So I took it to a whole bunch of other fitness manufacturers, and they all said the same thing. You're going to make a scientific argument to the fitness industry. That's your plan. And I said, yeah. And they're like, never going to happen. People in the fitness industry are the dumbest people you'll ever meet. Like, they are so profoundly stupid. They can't listen to an even logical argument, let alone a scientific one. Like, these people are just stupid. And I immediately, so I didn't really listen to them. I thought, okay, it's not really the answer I wanted. So maybe they're just bad marketers and I'll be better. Turns out they were right. So I started marketing, and it was just clearly these people, they're not capable of understanding a new concept. And I also did some research in psychology. I read the psychological literature on understanding new concepts. Apparently, only highly intelligent people can understand a new concept. Everyone else is just a follower, right? I mean, that's why you need to wear your mask, right? Mm-hmm. It takes a smart person to understand that if the size of a water particle can pass through the mask, right? You can put a piece of glass up to your face while you're wearing your mask, and you can see the steam on it. Well, we already know that the COVID virus is smaller than a water particle, so it goes right through the mask. So you can run your own experiment at home and prove to yourself mask doesn't do shit. So I knew you guys would like me on this show.
We've said that exact thing about what's the size of the virus and these particles, and
right, it goes right through.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, hey, you ever seen like a hazmat outfit that looks like a spacesuit?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should all wear one of those.
Hey.
I'd like to see Fauci in one, looking like the
Stay Puft Marshmallow Man rolling out there.
Glasses all fogged up on the inside. So yeah, I mean, but people who work in virology, that's what they have to wear to keep the virus from getting to them. But it's like, I'm sure a little piece of cloth over your mouth is going to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, these people, they couldn't understand the concept. And so I immediately pivoted towards an audience that was more like Dave's audience, the busy professionals. So like a guy who works construction, who just doesn't have time to go to the gym. Like, he might, because of overtime and everything, guy might work 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He can go home and do a workout that takes him 10 minutes, and then he's ready for his evening. He can do it before he goes to work, maybe. But like, as far as like going to a gym, like that doesn't fit in with that guy's lifestyle. People with kids, like if you have kids, immediately like the gym is not your priority anymore. You got to take care of your kids.
Yeah.
Even just getting married, you got to pay attention to your partner. So apparently that's part of the deal. The whole idea that, and I started pushing the whole, it's a better stimulus, but it saves time. And people told me afterward, I didn't believe it was a better stimulus. I thought it would be about the same. Now that I have it, it's far better than lifting weights. And I have hundreds of people that, some of whom can be seen on the website, say that I got better results in 6 months of X3 than I did in 20 years of weightlifting. Because the inefficiencies are taken out of it. And probably the most important discovery that I made was the genetic differences that keep us from being strong, which almost everybody have. So, and this, the easiest example is talking about the pectoral insertion point. So how, like I was saying, some people work out for years and years and years, they never make progress. The people who are in the NFL, they picked up weights for the first time when they were 15 or 16. They might have put on 20 or 30 pounds of muscle almost immediately, within maybe even 6 months. And it was like, clearly this person was like born to be an athlete. So what's the defining line? So we have, and I would guess, well, here the research shows us that the leanest people, and I like looking at percent body fat because it accounts for muscularity also. So the more muscular you are, the lower your percentage body fat is because you have more muscle. So the leanest 1% of American males are 10.6% body fat. 1%. That's pathetic. 10.6% is like maybe you can see the outline of your top abdominals.
Mhm.
So the question I ask is, who's really fit?
Yeah.
Maybe 1 out of 1,000 people, maybe 1 out of 10,000 people are like really have exceptional physical conditioning. And I'm talking more aesthetics because that's what we're measuring. Then I'm talking performance, but it's difficult. It's really difficult to get there with the methods that are conventional. But now, and also there's a great study by Pankos in 2011. He had a whole research team too. I just don't remember all their names. 23% of people who exercise, no matter what they do, cannot trigger muscle protein synthesis. So they're lifting and they're not getting anything out of it. Nothing.
And what found was the reason for that?
I'm going to get to that.
Okay. Sorry about that, Rick.
That's my next thing.
Yep. That was my question.
Do with where your tendons connect. So like my pectoral tendon connects to the humerus bone and it brings, my arm across my body. That's what my pectoral does. This is the shortest the pectoral gets. It gets more thicker, when you get to that point, and then it stretches out. So that's the action of the pectoral. What if, so the attachment point is usually right at the, it's right at the beginning of the humerus bone. But some people have it attached down here. And it's a mutation. Sorry.
Bless you.
Bless you. Bless you again.
Last one. So thank you very much. So when you have the attachment like down on the other end, now you have a lever arm that pushes your arm across your body. If you've ever tried to pick up like a rock in the garden, and then you come with a crowbar and you pop that rock out of the ground, you can do stuff effortlessly that you couldn't do with your hands. And it's because you have a lever arm. Essentially, that's what's happening inside of somebody's body with this tendon insertion advantage. So this is what keeps pro athletes, and also keeps people from making any progress in the gym. So what I realized after coming to this conclusion, this is after I launched X3, it's like, this is why weightlifting doesn't work for most people, me included. I lifted weights for 20 years. Like during rugby, after rugby, I played rugby even a little bit after undergrad for a club team. I just couldn't get anything out of lifting. Like I wasn't weak. I got the beginner gains, but like I might have put on 20 pounds of muscle, but that was like back when I was 17. And then what? And then I just kind of kept on the same. And I kept thinking I was like getting bigger, but really what I was doing was getting fatter. So yeah, it was just the whole subject was frustrating. And now I understood why so many people aren't growing. Well, with X3, because we vary the resistance, that lever arm makes no difference whatsoever. Because once you're almost at the state of full contraction, well, then leverage doesn't matter. So it's a way around the bad genetics. Oh, and also a lot of people say when someone has, quote, good genetics, like they must make more testosterone or something. That's only happened once in human history. There's only been one outlier that was banned from sports because she made too much testosterone. So it's really, there's not a lot of variability in the testosterone we have in our bodies. Now, some people can screw up their testosterone by eating like soy products and, other things that suppress your testosterone. And there's like soy in a lot of stuff. So that you can read articles about the feminization of men over the last 20 years. And a lot of that has to do with soy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I know the book, it has to have, I've heard you talk about it too. It's got a nutrition piece to that as well, right? And I know a lot of people understand a lot of people don't, but most people should understand how important that is.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about that a little bit because I think that's got to go hand in hand
Yeah.
with what you're saying with the soy.
Sure. So when launching X3, I knew I had the absolute best muscle building product ever. this thing worked so well, and it worked for everybody who used it, with the exception of one group who I just found so frustrating. And these are the people who just refused to get the right amount of protein. So here's how it would go. Somebody would say, you know, I'm not gaining muscle. And I'm like, well, what's your protein intake? Oh, I have tons of protein, maybe 50 grams a day. And I'm like, well, how much do you weigh? 200 pounds. Okay, you should have 200 grams of protein, gram per pound of body weight.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that's not possible. It's not possible to eat that much. Yeah, it is, because I do it every day. But, you know, to eat 2 pounds, like for a 200-pound guy, to eat 2 pounds of steak is, I guess, hard. Now, I will say that I eat 1 meal a day now because I want a fasting benefit. And I do dry fasting also, which amplifies that benefit. But
What's dry fasting? I'm sorry.
let me get to that. Remember.
Okay. All right.
So when I'm so eating 1 meal a day, like I've eaten 2 pounds of steak at once. That last half pound, you're not loving it. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I'll eat it. I'll eat it because I need it. But do I want to eat it? No, I don't.
You might want to try the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Sure.
Yeah, that's coming up.
Sure.
Yeah, don't tell Johnny Chestnut that, or Joey Chestnut.
So I realized people just had trouble stomaching that much meat. And of course, you know, veganism is a mental illness, you know, more than anything else. But it's going to go down in history with bulimia and anorexia, because it's just malnutrition based on bad information. But I'd say the commitment to it is the mental illness. Like, as if somebody's a vegan and they're like, well, I heard this was good, but if you're going to convince me something else, oh, I'd like to talk to that guy, because I'll convince that guy in minutes that what he's doing is a bad idea. So when coming to this conclusion of how much protein you need, also, I approached it very, you know, from a very different perspective. I wanted people to get the most out of X3. So they got to be the most muscular. It also just so happens that the two things that drive the longest life, and this is uncontested research. Most nutrition research has just got all kinds of conflicts, and one set of research says this, one set of research says the opposite. But two things that are uncontested are the two greatest drivers of long life: high levels of strength, low level of body fat. Well, there's only one way to get to high levels of strength and low level of body fat, and that's eating animal protein. Because with veganism, you're doing the opposite. You're getting fatter and you're getting weaker. So that means shorter life. And the unbiased research that looks at all-cause mortality always shows that the vegans and vegetarians live a shorter life. So that's why I made the decision I made. And I also am kind of a purist. It's meat only. Like, there's no value in most of the things that contain carbohydrates. So I just don't bother with any of them. And only supplement I take is a protein that I launched, which is a modification on a cancer protocol, which was the sort of the best protein that had ever been created, repurposed for anabolic growth as opposed to anti-cancer wasting. But that's really the only thing that in clinical literature had been a commercially available product that worked when it came to essential amino acids. The other essential amino acids have been out for 50 years and they never did anything. So the logic was there, the execution was poor. And so I executed it right. And so that's really all I take. So the supplement's called Fortigen. I do 4 doses of Fortigen a day. And then now I only do like a half a pound of meat, like, you know, just a regular steak. And that's it. That's all I eat in one day.
I'm sure go ahead, buddy.
No, I was just going to ask that. So what's the dry fasting then?
So I have a 4-hour window where I take in hydration. So I hydrate, I work out, I do my hyperplasia protocol, which has to do with a vasodilator and then stretching after my workout. So vasodilators are like Epimedium. There's over-the-counter supplement. There's another one called Hydromax, which is supposed to volumize tissue. But if you really want to do it right, take a Viagra or another vasodilator like Cialis that's prescription. and that really does the job. And you get incredible blood flow to musculature. And then after your workout, you stretch, and this is to initiate cells splitting within the muscle. And so I do that, and that's all in the hydration window. And then I eat at the end of that hydration window, and then no fluids for 20 straight hours. No fluids, no food. And so by dehydrating yourself, your body will only get so dehydrated. So you go through some dehydration symptoms, and then you come out of them because your body starts tapping metabolic water. So it takes fat cells, starts pulling moisture out of the fat cells, which destroys them. So you're losing body fat very quickly. And then as the cell is destroyed, then your body uses autophagy to reappropriate all those other, all the fat and low density lipoprotein that's in those cells to do other stuff and build up newer cells in the body. But then the water is brought into your system. So even though I'm dry fasting for 20 hours, I'm still urinating. I still have saliva in my mouth and I have a dry mouth. Don't have a headache because I'm used to it. Because you do have to get used to this. It takes about 2 weeks to get used to. But the results are outstanding.
Awesome.
And all that's in that in your book, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, where can our audience find your book? I know it's on Amazon. I saw that, but what would be your preferred method for them to get a hold of a copy of the book?
All my social media, everything, I create a landing page. I suggest if somebody wants to follow me, they follow me on Instagram. I just like that platform better, and I put more material there. My landing page is drj.com. So DOCTOR, the letter J.com.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, it was a lot of fun having you, and your outlook on a lot of the stuff is very positive. You know, just your stance alone on meat. I can see on social media how vicious even the vegan community can be, and you're always real positive, and the entrepreneurship and stuff. I know the guys are going to love it. So really appreciate you being here today.
Have religious devotion to your diet.
Yeah.
That's what I tell them. It's like as soon as you act fanatical, it's just like there's no point in continuing the conversation.
Yeah. So, but man, hey, a lot of fun, and appreciate you being here, and good luck to you. If you ever need anything, let us know. But a lot of fun having you on here today, Doc.
I love this. This was a very refreshing podcast. You guys asked different questions. Because a lot of people they watch all the other podcasts and then they ask the same questions.
Yeah.
So I appreciate.
Here's the thing. You've got a Lambo, right? So let's talk about that thing. I mean, drive the wheels off that bad boy, you know? I mean,
we can't let that
go.
No.
Yeah.
You know?
It's an amazing vehicle. I highly recommend it. Yeah.
Well, if we ever make it out to Vegas, you're gonna have to let us take that bad boy for a ride. We promise we'll bring it back in one piece.
I tell you guys, if somebody wants to get a Lamborghini, like when Audi bought the company, they made it a reliable car. So, and you don't want the one with the scissor doors. The last two are the Inventor, and then before that, the Murcielago. Don't get those. Those are handmade, meaning error. Like they're not the ones that Lambo races either. So those are built for kind of show, and also they're really wide. They're wider than a Suburban.
Really?
Wow.
Creates the illusion that it's much lower to the ground. It really is.
Okay.
So it looks like just a razor blade on wheels, right? I mean, the car is so, like aggressive looking. It's weird when you look at it. Get the higher production one. So either the Gallardo or the Huracan. Mine's a Huracan Performante.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to run that by my wife, though. I think that's a pretty significant purchase in the Kelley household. Yeah. Well, congratulations on all your success, and I know you do some speaking and things like that, and a lot of motivational stuff. So, it seems like you're doing a heck of a lot more good than I can see doing bad. But good on you, pal.
Thanks.
I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Awesome, guys.
All right, brother. Thanks a lot, John.
John, have a great weekend, pal.
See you, pal.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Bye, bye.
Bye.
Man, that was a great show,
dude. Awesome, without a doubt.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks again, Rick. Hey guys, if you are still listening on the audio show, make sure you hit that Kill Cliff site. Use that promo code OTR15 and make sure you hit Combat Flip Flops and hit OTR25 and give those guys a visit. And they got great products and they do a lot of supporting things to a lot of good causes. So visit those guys. Thanks again, Rick.
You got
Have
it,
a
buddy.
good one, buddy. All right, pal. Talk soon,
man.
man. All
All
right,
right.
buddy. Bye.
Bye.